Wassail. So we're here for water. I've spent the morning, actually I've spent 2 days connecting with water, because after I did fire I was like, yay, let's move on to water the next day, and the spirit was kind of like, no, you don't do that quickly, you have to settle into water. And so they said, just think about water, just go through the cards, think about it, do it. And then it poured down with rain. And then I realized that actually for the last 2 days before doing fire, I'd had the most beautiful sunny days where you could sit outside and let the sun really get on your whole body. So I needed to settle into the energy, and it's such a different energy to fire that the cosmos said, settle in slowly. And that's an interesting kind of epiphany in many ways, because for a long time I've sensed the speed with which there's been the fractures in the old earth energy, everything up in the air, that confusion, and now that speed is the speed at which the new air thoughts, the new air energies are coming in, and yet somehow there's this lower, slower frequency that I did used to say was connected to the heart chakra, and that's exactly what this is trying to show me. I've got all of those cards that I put on the photo for those that follow the community page to talk about what you see in the water, but this energy is, you do kind of want to dive in, and it all wants to feel like it's very much in slow motion so that you can really enjoy swimming like a dolphin through the ocean of all the different emotions, knowing that it's your home. That's the energy that's coming from these. It's also the sacral in our bodies. It's Ceres, the planet. It's about planting good agricultural emotions. It's about that, planting the seeds of strong emotions in yourself, your self-love, your self-respect, and weeding out all of the unnecessary emotions that are not serving you, that are not making you able to swim so freely. So I'm going to do a D, just to set the tone. We didn't do it with the other one, but I'm being called to really push this energy in, because we need to really sort of settle into this notion that we're dealing with emotions, and it's the heart chakra. It's also F sharp, it's also F. But we need to settle where the emotions sit within our sacral, the seat of all these conscious emotions that are flying in this suit. They pass through the heart, they wire into the mind, they do all kinds of other energetic distortions to reach our molecules in our physical body to make the emotions real in us, but they have to be seated comfortably in the soul. So headphones are good for this bit, and I'm going to try and push the energy into the cards and into the reading. It's trying to get to the nervous system, which is really interesting. It's kind of saying that as the emotions are rewiring in us, there is this sense that the nervous system has to change to pull it into shape. It's like there's pathways that need fixing there. Anyway, let's not dwell on that, because we're really here to learn about the cups. So we're going to begin. I don't know how we're going to begin. It just feels so lovely. I just kind of feel like I should just be able to just sit here with you, and we should just all just feel it. It's so powerful. because this is consciousness, this is emotions. It's quite hard to actually sit in front of all these 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 decks, because I've added the Aleister Crowley one. There's so much energy coming off that it's actually quite hard to look, because it's emotions and it's journeying. It's emotions going on a journey. So let's just begin by diving in, rather than looking at, I have to, because I've set this challenge with you. And everyone's journey, as they've looked into the cards, has led them to their specific place. The thing I kind of found interesting about the Good Tarot, when sat like this, there's a deeply internal, personal journey that takes place in that suit for some reason, but it doesn't always. What I mean is that when I placed it out yesterday, there was a kind of toxicity being cleansed in those cards that was so enormously huge. And other cards have got sort of this element of so many different brightnesses of colours, tones and pitches of the emotions. So, you know, emotions are everything. They're so vast that that's what's so loud about this. So, Ace of Cups. This is obviously, one is beginnings, life force. But this is the beginning of what happens when that life force that's so raw masculine magician is suddenly met with the second suit, which really is this, it's divine femininity. So this is like this first moment when just absolutely every molecule within you is being offered the possibility, the chance, the place in which to refill with all of that, you know, undistorted emotion, really loving, good intentioned emotions. And that's what these aces are about. So the second deck, here we see this energy of it being a personal struggle to rise up to that frequency. This is cosmic. This is being gifted from out of nowhere. There's a lotus opening, the sacral. There's the dove of peace. There's this glow. There's 5 streams of the water coming down to represent the 5 senses. There's all these kind of clues within the card to remind you that it's a complete energy coming in of pure love. But in this one, you've had to struggle with the starfishes that regenerate. You've had to move yourself into a different frequency to push through, to come back up to air, where we edit, which we'll talk about later, but to bring those emotions through all those edits and just rise up and just breathe in this new energy. So in the Light Seers, we have this wonderful alchemical control. It's like you've made this happen, and you've made it happen here in your heart, which is your beacon of energy that comes out of you, that sets the intentions of the world that you walk in. So if you're in bad patterns of thoughts, you're pushing those patterns out. With this one, you've taken all of those patterns, you've worked on them, and you've brought them in, and you've combined your heart chakras. You're flowing with absolute frequency. Look, you're beginning to just spill out. Beautiful card. This one here is about, I always want to say there's something about being cleansed. There's something about washing. There's something about, it's a different kind of energy. It's not, it's cleansing. It's like it's not completed the service. It's the wash. The others have more of a feel of either it's there with you, or you've just emerged into it, or you've controlled it. This one's very much like this notion of sitting still with it, and sort of because for some reason this always makes me think of a tea urn, and it looks like it's brewing tea rather than a vase. And so it gives me that sense that you're still in this energy frequency of brewing your new emotional language. And this one is just so beautiful. This one is such calm. It's such delicate, almost like you've got to go inside the energy of this card and undo the wisdom of the emotions, this new magical gift. You've got to unlock it, you've got to unfold it, you've got to attach new thoughts, that you've got to grow it, you've got to nurture it, because it's coming across as this very gentle, fragile emotion being carried. And there is that sense where you get this sense, because of it being a seahorse and the male seahorse carrying the babies, in terms of it's playing with your own concepts of how we gender ourselves and how we're both things, both masculine and feminine. And then we have this powerful, this is like a lightning bolt of energy in the Ace of Cups in the Aleister Crowley deck. It's just like the energy comes down and it's tumultuous. There's something inevitable but gentle and peaceful in this one. This is like some kind of science fiction light beam has come down and connected right through you, and you're just melting with it. So that's our aces. Now we're going on to 2. So here we have the principle again. It's not just that it's the second suit, but this is the second card now. So we have that energy of divine feminine consciousness and just every single emotion all in there. And so the card represents love between, firstly, the polarities of your own existence. You have to go to that foundation first before you go to the foundation of love between people, because you have to fix that first. You have to peg your marker open. So this card very much pushes that message of people coming together in this energy. And it's about newness, and it's about coming through a darkness. There's very dark imagery. It's showing how shadows have been pushed back to make space, but that's really about how we're doing that internally as the foundation energy. You get different energies again as we go down these cards. So the 2 of emotions here, which is water, really does have that sense of finding yourself in the ocean of emotions. You know, water holds memory. Water to me is consciousness. It's the Akashic records. And this is about finding yourself in the Akashic records. It can also mean finding another. But there's something about the energy that comes from this card when I see it, usually, but not always. It will give me that sense of coming together within yourself. This one really does represent the other extreme. This is coming together with another and with everything. It's about a kind of, this is like a collective energy of coming together. There's something very different about this frequency. It's alive with a kind of understanding and movement. It's sharing. The energies are very much running between the two hands and the bowls. There's exchange taking place in this one. Now, this one fascinates me, partly because it's got something out of balance about it. It's got two vases, the two chalices, but then it's got these three creatures, a bird, a frog, and a turtle. And it's like spirit is waiting for a transformation to fit into the bigger picture. So it's like a level of union, balance has been achieved, but you haven't finished processing how that understanding fits into the world around you. So you're still trying to work out what the bigger picture is. You're still trying to work out how you want to transform, but Spirit's there with you. So there's this real energy of being in a very slow moving epiphany. There's a very slow energy because of the turtle in this one. And turtles, I think, if you look at the number of the parts of the shell around the back, there are 13 of them. It's like it's trying to say to you that you need to find this energy of 13, this timelessness, this creativity that's got emotions attached to it in that frequency to move forwards. Now, in the Good Tarot, such a pretty card. This one again has a delicacy. It's two goldfish, and this is about so many mirrored energies. It's about everything being in a complete balance between yourself and between another person and between the world. There's something very balletically yin and yang about the way the energies on this card seem to swim around. It's all just like a swirling Brownian motion of perfection, and yet within it you keep seeing beautiful, magical patterns emerge. And then this one's all about the home and love within the home, but it's about the sacred home. It has Venus with Cancer marked above it. But this is about how the cosmos kind of drops down energy, and parts of that energy are filtered in and filtered out through the dragons, and other parts are poured out from other areas. So there's this idea of taking energy and transforming it and filling the cups lower down, but it is about sifting. There's something about this card about how you decide what level of which emotions belong in your current energy frequency. So that's the twos. Let's move on to threes. Three is linking into Empress energy. So not esoteric love, but how this love is in physical form. That's why sometimes the two really feels more like it's about the self. But if you move to three, it starts to make it look like you're trying to have like a ménage à trois kind of relationship. And so you just need to be aware of how there's crossover energies when you're looking to do with other people being representative in the cards. It's much easier to begin with to try and apply the stories as you first learn to just being about a person's journey within their soul or your own, without the need for outside influence, because you're the only one that can create your path forwards. When your path meets another path and you walk together, that's different, but you have to make the pathway. So, threes. Threes, this has always been about a kind of reunion energy, a coming back together. it's like there's a sense of loss that comes with this card. Even though it's the most beautiful card, it has that sense of, why did we not come together earlier? Why did we not bring our emotions into this unity where we found a balance? There's very much that kind of frequency in it, because together there's an abundance behind them. Whereas there's something about this offering on the table that somehow seems rather meager, that doesn't seem to have that proper energy frequency of abundance to it. So it's drawing close, and this card can have some really interesting images. I mean, there's nothing in their cups yet, so they're waiting to drink. And this card can also say, be careful when you drink in too many heady emotions, that you don't regret things the next day, because we're not meant to have regrets, but we were programmed to fall into them. So it's a very complex energy, but ultimately it is about bringing together something in celebration, bringing new energy, bringing happiness. But it has got layers of complexities because it's emotions. And then we have the Three of Emotions in the Muse Tarot. This very much has the reference to the three female figures, but this time it's a single female figure which has got that triple goddess aspect, maiden, mother, crone, which in some decks this also can come across with that. In the Universal Celtic Tarot, I think it's got there's a depiction similar to that. I can't remember which deck it is. So here it's this, I want to say like a source of something of pure energy, like a kind of shrine frequency. And there's closed eyes and open eyes. There's, you know, new moons, full moons, there's cycles, there's holding the heart. The moon disc here is being held across the heart, which has that kind of reference back to controlling of emotions. So you're looking for echoes quite often when you're going through the cards, but this is definitely also got an energy of the higher self, of a connection within rather than to people externally. There's something, because it's rising from the emotional waters, just like this. And it is this series. It's coming out and being in union with yourself and with your higher self. Now, in the Light Seers, for some reason on this deck, I always see this as not Mother, Maiden, Crone, but raw femininity, emotional femininity, and divine femininity. And they're standing and they're celebrating being back in the cosmos in balance. There's something, it's like, it took ages to get the divine feminine all the way down because the world was such a toxic place. But we've got there. But and it's a very much, it's a deeply feminine energy on that card. It's very much a consciousness energy that's from far away. Now, in this card, again, we have the weird thing, like in this card, you had 3 animals and 2 vases. In this one, we have 3 vases and we have 2 fish and quite a few birds, all kind of celebrating around. But there's something still very shut off about this energy. It's like there's something very hermit, and that's not always there. I'm just saying right now what's coming from this card is this sense of being a hermit around emotions. It's kind of like saying, I've reached a point and I get this emotion, but I'm not going to practice it. I just know it. It's almost like too heady, and the world around is kind of saying, look, come and play, and that energy is not happening. So that's never been the energy of that card before, but This is what I mean about reading. You allow the things to unfold and you just have to dive down with them. And as you express them, verbalize them, they sometimes form new avenues that you didn't expect. So just practice having a bit of confidence. 3 of water here after the 2 goldfish. There's something very isolated about this. It's the first of these cards to not really contain multiple figures. I know there were no figures in this one, but this was about animal life all around, really zinging with energy. This one really is about almost, I want to say, there's a boredom coming from it today. She's just like, I've got these 3 pearls and I just want to get on to the 4th, because actually I've never noticed before, but there's a 4th pearl just beginning to form almost over her shoulder. It's like, it's the energy of this is being, I don't want to say impatient, but it's almost like having, I'm getting the sense of this seer vision that comes with this one, of knowing where this is going, this new energy that you're standing in that's very old, and you remember this energy and you like this frequency, your body responds to it. There's something about having an impatience for it to move forwards. And then in this one, it's Mercury in Cancer. It's kind of like, there's something all singing and all dancing about this card. It does say abundance at the bottom. It also has this wonderful kind of grape-like glass goblets of redness and these wonderful pouring flowers, and it's all woven together in a kind of harmony that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You see, it's almost giving this idea of bringing together the Tesla code of the 369, and then around is all the atoms that are changing their fluid, their moving form, because the emotions are now flowing in a new frequency. So the atoms change their relationship to each other. So that's what comes from that one today. Now, the 4. This is often referred to as a cosmic gift card. Now, in the earlier Rider-Waite deck, the figure is seated under a tree and is looking only at the 3 cups, the boredom that she has. She's anticipating the 4. So in this one, rather interestingly, this person connected to the world is looking at the new cosmic gift that's coming in. So it's knowing that there's more to be added to the celebration, because the 3 is really a celebration. It just comes with lots of hints of other energies. Now, if we look at the next one in the Muse Tarot, you get that wonderful reminder of the face coming in at the side. And you see an echo of that face, like a coming together of your own energies again, that working out who you are, having that time to contemplate and wondering just where is that 4th cup, and not realizing that you're actually already in its frequency. It's formed. You just need to engage with the energy. So it's a moving card, it's a healing card, it's a thinking card, because it's a 4, which is Emperor. It's a pruning card, and it's an emotional pruning. Having that moment to contemplate the 3 cups, while knowing and trusting that there is a new cup coming in to add new energies to things, new emotions. This one, I absolutely love this card, and I also absolutely get really furious with this card because it comes at me so often in that energy of just wait, will you not wait? So it's interesting, she can't see the magic coming in that's being brought in from the cosmos, and it's so colourful, so illuminating, and she's just bored, she's just stuck. Even behind her there's a wonderful Yggdrasil tree, but it's just not spotting the signs around. She's got her hand touching the bowl, she's connected to it, but she's not engaging with it. That's the way to put it. So it's like the magic is all around her, but she's not witnessing it, she's not processing it, spotting synchronicities. This is a card about engaging with signs so that you can properly step into that new energy. This Four of Cups, it has a particular meaning most of the time, but I'm just giving it a moment to kind of open up, because this is like an exchange of emotions. There's something, and quite often it feels like an exchange of emotions with the higher self, and with spirits in the world around you. It's like just going into a flow with the magic that's all around, and saying, look, I've got these two pots on the shelf, I've got this other one, you've got one, let's just swap these and let's just put that into that energy. But while doing it, you're actually in that moment of swapping, it's a larger piece, it's a 4-piece puzzle that's with your higher self, or with another, it can be. Now, here in the Four of Water, in the Good Tarot, there's an epiphany that's coming. But I want to say that this one today is feeling a little bit like she's nurtured this dream. It's grown in her hand, and it's actually, as she looks deeper into it, she's not that impressed. There's a kind of disappointment in what she has nourished as her life and her vision, and it's grown, and she's just looking at it and she's just thinking, no, I need to start this again. So there's something very challenging in the energy of reaching this card, because it kind of means something that you cherish, you know, and it could be just your whole history. Or it could be something very small in fragmented steps. But there's something about being on the cusp of having an epiphany on a disappointment of a direction that you went in. But the idea is not to stay trapped in it, is to move forwards from it. It's an awareness, it's a clarity. And we're in air energy now, and air with emotions takes out all of that fog and just opens emotions up to be much cleaner. Now, the 4 here is Moon in Cancer. This is, you know, at home, really luxury. There's this sense of kind of, you know, pouring chocolates and wonderful food energies, and being, there's a kind of pointedness, because some of the energies that flow off to begin with are quite sharp and seem to pierce through the earth. It's like there's it's so powerful, the frequency of this one. It gets everywhere. It's like something you can't stop, and it just feels luxury is not quite the right word, really. But I guess it's saying it's like a luxurious time, because the foreflow of the cosmic gift style of this energy is just wrapping you up in something wonderful which feels luxurious. 5s. Now, this is the classic change card, Hierophant, Epiphany, that kind of energy. He stares at all of his life that has fallen over, those 3 cups. Even though he added a new thought process to it, he still can't stop looking at those 3 cups. And now that new one's got another one behind it. There's 2 new cups to tip the balance in a new favourable way if you would just look round and face the shadows and integrate the losses. So I love this one. I really do. Because this one's so emotional. The emotions are frozen. It's become almost impossible to move emotionally. And from somewhere she sheds a tear and she connects with all this new rising, lighter, splashier energy that's fluid, and it's rising from within her navy blue shadows, that it's allowing her to melt the emotions. It's a profoundly beautiful card. And then we have the rabbit hole one, the Alice in Wonderland. She sits in the dusk of a very healing aquamarine ray. And sometimes I've seen this card as ages that we've been through, because she has 3 empty bowls and they're just empty, and she has one behind her that's full. She's got her 4th bowl, it's new, she's left the other ones behind because they were too heavy to carry, and she's tipping out all the bits that she didn't need from the other bowls down the rabbit hole. Or is she tipping down new trust in new energies that she's mixed from her new bowl? There's very many different ways of looking at the layers of these cards, but there's something mournful about her. There's something isolated, very much a personal moment to change frequencies. And there's something very nonchalantly casual about her foot being the thing that tips this energy. And it does feel like tips it away, gives it back to the earth and says, this was all of that toxic energy that was created during the last 200 years. I just need to give it back to you. It's yours. It's been driving me mad. So there's something incredibly, profoundly beautiful about that. Then we have this cat on a table. Something about these cards where the position of them talks about the patterns of the layouts of things in this deck seems to always talk about constellations, star patterns, energies and frequencies. This is also very much showing you that kind of the 5 dots on a dice or a die. This is kind of about choosing very gently what belongs to you emotionally and what just needs removing and knocking over. It's like a mini tower moment, I often think. It's like a little slither. It's not as big. There's something about this energy that's very soft in its approach to the it's like something needs to be knocked out and looked at, but it's not that big a thing. It's not a grand energy in this deck. It can be though. Sometimes it can come as a really kind of like the slowing down moment. Now, in the Good Tarot, she's reached a point of despair at her cycle, as was, and she's got hold of the seahorse from the beginning, and they're off. They're off. They haven't got through the despair yet, but they're moving on from that frequency. There's something about her sacral that seems to have exploded and then frozen. It's kind of like it shattered open and got trapped, like she couldn't process it, and it's like her entire heart is in her guts. It's a gut instinct that happens. And she's kind of tried to form, it's like her mermaid's tail has become rigid. Her directions have become rigid. She's trying really hard to push through a barrier of emotions, very much with that energy again, that really working yourself to get through something. And then we have the off. The Toth one's really interesting when you look at them and compare the suits with their numbers, so all of the fives and things, because they all take different forms, and this one always has a star, 5-star pointed star. It's not quite a pentacle, but it's like the formation of emotions into something that belongs to the earth realm. It's trying to give it form. And this is Mars in Scorpio. This is like you've got to death and rebirth something. It's all become a bit interwoven and tangled, and there's a much greater smoothness. It's like the shadows above in the leaves are blocking out the movement. They're blocking out the new energy from coming in. And down in your roots, it's really quite tightly knotted. And it's sort of, it's over the landscape, but underneath it's ensnared. So it's not going, and petals and things are falling from it. It's not good frequency. It's not, and all of these cups, they look steel or glass-like, depending on how you look at it, but they don't feel like there's anything in them. They feel like frozen pieces of ice. Like it's all become a need for the Mars energy to melt it. Well, and that's referencing this one again. So sixes. 6 is obviously the most wonderful balance energy, and it's the Lover's card, it's co-creation, it's choices. But in this one, this is meant to be this notion of something from the past, something from childhood, because it often has children depicted on it. And they're coming into some kind of loving union. And that doesn't remotely mean sexual. It just means an energy of true comforting love. And this one really does usually talk about an outside influence, but not exclusively. It's just that people's tendency as they've created tarot is to have an idea of what kind of messages they tell, and they want that to be in the cards. It's much more fun when the cards are capable of mixed messaging without driving you towards certain conclusions. But you need the old symbols as foundations. So this one's very much about how everything is in balance, abundance, there's peace, there's love, there's perfume, this is just a wonderful bubbled moment of bliss that has descended. And then in the 6 of emotions from the Muse Tarot, it becomes a really fascinating, this is like seeking your mirror soul, your mirrored ego. It's like seeking your inner child, both the wounded one and the grown-up luminous warrior. There's energies of sadness and frustration. There's an image of not knowing yourself, an energy of not knowing yourself and only reflecting the energies of others. There's a little, she has a Saturn spinning on her hand, the little girl who's at the aviatrix, sitting on a case with an aeroplane, and her arms are out like an aeroplane. That's that childish joy, and there's a sort of a disconnect because there's another figure just down here observing all of this. It's like observing the distortions that exist within yourself. It's like having a moment with spirit where you can see what needs to be fixed. So the Light Seers is such a cute card. This is talking about, obviously you have to focus first of all on the fact that it's a life cycle from childhood to adulthood. It's a journey through emotions, and it's a journey with something faithful, which could be your own higher self. It could be with someone that you've known from your childhood that's still in your life. That could have been part of your life path. It could be, as it just shows, the wonderful journeys that we can go on with pets. There's all these different frequencies hidden within that card. Today, it's really coming much more across as higher self and coming into the energy of union to a greater clarity with your higher self. Now, the Six of Chalices has actually gone very quiet on me. It's drawn me very much to the curtains, because the earlier cards start out more in the natural world, and then the emotions slowly come indoors, and then the cat knocks it over. And then in this card, everything's neat, and it's all about an altar and a reverence. It's kind of, there's something about the need to acknowledge the sacredness of an emotional balance. So the energy coming from it is to say, you've done good. You're being rewarded with this wonderful new emotional balance, and you need to thank the universe and yourself for that journey together, and your higher self or your guides, just to make acknowledgement in gratitude for the journey you've been on. So sort of, I'm not saying build an altar. I'm just saying, in your sacred space, you need to make a record of that journey and create some new aspect of your inner celestial city that you have. I hope that makes sense. I'm probably going to have to do a video separately on inner celestial cities. I'm aware. Six of Water. So she's moved on. She's got out of all the toxic water, and she's now throwing up at the side of the pond. This always looks like Olivia Colman, this card. British actress that plays the Queen in The Crown, I think. I don't watch telly, so... This card is interesting because you have to look at what is the difference between what you see in the card and what you see in the reflection in the water. In the card, her hands cover herself. Below the water, she's wringing her hands. So it's kind of that sort of lifting yourself out and wringing yourself out like a sponge. And in its sacral energy, and it's got 6 pearls. And she's now, she's leaning her head towards the 4 pearls that are in the now, rather than the 2 heavy ones that have been holding her back in the past. And there's lilies opening on the surface. So it's almost like by ridding yourself and giving to the earth or the waters your toxicity, the waters and the space can then flourish, because they can deal with that energy that you needed to remove. This one is always somehow, it always comes across very much as soulmates. It's pleasure. It's the sun in Scorpio. It's like heat coming down on all those watery emotions, and there's something anciently woven, perfectly stitched together about this energy, like it's a point in time that was always meant to arrive, and it's just been coming forwards, and then in parts of your journey it's moved off in another direction, and then it's kind of moved forwards again, and it's just gone past you over the top, and and then at some point you meet the energy. There's something very much like there's a combination or a key fitting to that frequency. So let's look at 7s, movement. It's funny because this is about what blocks movement. Emotions block movement because emotions are confusing and we don't live them in true frequencies. This is a card of choices, but the fog is the confusion. What do you pick? And there's all these different energies, and we get this card and we don't say to people, well, what does most appeal to you? You know, is it the mask? Is it the snake? Is it the woman's head, the castle, the dragon, the jewels, or the victory? Because I don't think we could answer that comfortably, because all of those things have different frequencies at different times. So even trying to pull it out isn't always easy. But sometimes one of them will just shout at you. I mean, for ages with Cindy, there was a ghost in one of the cards, and it just made me laugh because every time it's like, pick me, pick me. So 7 of emotions here is having clarity. Having clarity, but also having seerness, having vision, because actually it's not until you look really closely at the 7 fish below that you realise that actually one of the fish is 2 fish together. So there's actually 8 fish. So there is a clear answer. It's the twinned one. It's the one that's most matches your frequency that you pick. And we stand thinking they're all part of my frequency, and they are all part of your frequency. But what's the energy of the one that you most require now? And it's the same here. Life's all snakes and ladders, and he's got to make a choice, and he doesn't know how to choose. And you know, visually the answer's there. Obviously pick the one with the energy water flowing out of it, because that's where emotions are working. Otherwise you're just going to keep climbing ladders and sliding down snakes. You're not going to get anywhere if you keep repeating, picking the empty solution. You want the emotional solution, because the emotional solution will sustain you. This one I love. This is about lining up all those choices and choosing a third option. So look, this cabinet's always been made of spears or cutters, like it's a weapons, a reminder of victories. And this time he's hanging a flower up in there. He's achieved a different result, a different clarity. The emotions worked out in a much more organised fashion. So the Olivia Colman has changed now. She's at the bottom of an ocean. She's now, all of those options, she has control over them. She's commanding luminous warrior energy frequency from a fixed sacral. She now sees the options as all controlled within her emotional field. She's found a sense of comfort and balance, even though it's a 7, even though it's a frequency saying step forwards, it comes as a frequency that holds us back. It's meant to be make the choice, but it's the confusion. And in this card, she knows that she can make the choice now. This one is gorgeous because this one is about removing toxic emotions. This is Venus in Scorpio. All of those toxic emotions need to be just dissolved away so that you make space for something new. It's like it's clearing up all the circuitry in between, the connections between things. It's simplifying the energy. It's melting. I don't know why though. There's this one at the bottom here. It always reminds me of those knitted dolls with a knitted skirt that people put over toilet rolls, or they did years ago. They used to frighten me. It's like, ooh, why is there wool here? So, the 8 of Cups. So 8 is raw feminine strength. And do you know what? When you think of this card as raw feminine strength, it is. Look, there's 8 cups, all of life's emotions, all the complications, and this figure, maybe it's Little Red Riding Hood somehow in this, but moving away from the emotions, there's a hole, and that's interesting because that's a void space that speaks of the intention of there being a ninth cup. So this figure is turning away, everything's in balance, there's an eclipse, there's a perfect moment, there's this magical time at which you move past all that was. The Eight of Emotions in the Muse Tarot is a gorgeous card. It's just returning us to the void of the very first 0-4 card. But this has got such grown-up energy to have cleared out all the landscape around you of all the things that stand in the way of you reaching into your shadows and pulling out the light that's emerging. It's a new canvas. A bit like the echo of the Two of Inspiration, when it was the little peephole and the big white blank page. This is about having new space. This one's lovely too. This has got two bowls, one at the back that's now sinking. It's over with. All of that emotion is over with. And this new bowl is the new direction forward. So you've impassioned it. You've put fire to the water. You've brought energy, emotions and inspiration and passions combined, and you're setting off towards a rising sunshine. Again, it's the energy of step away from all that was. This person is leaving behind everything, letting go of all emotional foundations and just closing the door, because they've organised everything there. They understood all of their emotions. They don't need those emotions anymore. They've sieved through them, they've worked out, leave all this here, going out the door, moving towards new emotions. And that's very much what we have here. Look, finally emerging on a new shore. The ship's now gone that brought you there, that you came on, that spiritual ship. You've got your treasure now. You've brought all your pearls of wisdom up and you're ready to move into the world. This real energy of there's power behind this card. There's real strength and resilience. This one connects in with the one before. It's about that same frequency of purifying the toxicity and refilling the energy on new cups. But there's still something about the purification going on. It's not over. It's a difficult ride to get this going. But the interesting thing is that there's 4 cups now that have no emotions in. They've been cleaned up. And there's still a process just finishing off the work in the other cups. But it could also be that these are brand new energies coming in and you're whittling down everything to one toxic thing, and finally that goes, and then all your cups are really empty to refill. The 9 is the wish card. The idea is, it was always a sort of well-fed man who has everything in life, and he now gets his wish too. Wow, how fabulous it was to be a man once. So, this is 9, it's divine, it's hermit energy, but this is hermit energy connecting inner emotions, and the energy of having everything connected is to be at peace emotionally with yourself, and that allows a wish to be created because you've lined emotions up so there are no distortions. And it is very much about being in alignment, which is what this card, the 9 of Emotions, shows so well. It's very much Aladdin energy. There's a magic lamp, and from within the magic lamp has come this wish, but this wish is very controlled. It's very cosmically crafted, and it's been thought about. It has all these jewels flashing all around it, and there's this wonderful rolling energy of the emotions of water and spirits connected by dots all the way down the card, and you're so far away now from crashing on the rocks with your wishes. It's a really wonderful energy, that one. This one's comical because this one has the initial blast of it is just a powerful energy of sacral seated emotions just pushing forwards. But there's an energy sometimes where she's kind of tripped over her own wealth, and it's by tripping over that wealth of things that it allows the triggering of this new heart-centered. This is like charging yourself up and just beaconing out such amazing energy that only amazing things can come back to you, because only amazing things can make it through that frequency to you. So the more fears that you have resonating out, the more fears can come in. The more you walk out there in that trusting energy of, you know, compassionate light that you're getting to with this divine nine, then that's the only frequency that comes through to your world. This one is an epiphany, but there's something still very, I want to say pleading, but I also mean very much a frequency of being aware of the power of the cosmos and approaching it with reverence. Because there's definitely wind energy that could just clear everything off this table at any point. So there's something about this one's holding up, not an offering, but a gratitude to have reached a certain point, while being very aware that air was the editing suite that got them to this. We're just looking at this as an emotional journey, but this card is saying you cannot look at me without being aware that no suit or element stands alone. It's always in combination. And then we have plunging down to the bottom of the ocean to, I want to say almost to, this card was about the treasure being lifted up, and in this card it's like the energy's gone back down to the bottom of the ocean to lock that chest away. There's something, and I also always get this energy from a distance. It's very weird. It's not there at all. I know it's a jewel, but this comes across sometimes as a telephone answer machine. It's like the person's not quite at home with the emotions, and they're still burying things, even though they're on this divine moment. It's wonderful, but they're not willing to just spread it out. So there's still some energy. There's not this, but the mermaid has the key. The key is within her, but that last fitting it in the lock, it's almost like trying to squash down. I'm seeing an image now of trying to squash all the jewels of emotions and life and experience into that chest, and you can't get the lock on it still. And the locks, it's a key to you somehow, and that you're trying to fit too much of you in some kind of secretive hidden realm below the water. Anyway, we have this one, which is just about complete and utter alignment. It's Pisces, watery, dreamlike, with Jupiter, abundance. It's just being in the most perfect moment where the flow is just pushing through you. It's also well integrated and aligned together. It's just, it says happiness, and that's more what it's about. There's not something about a wish about this. This is about being in the moment of it, being in a shower of bliss, and knowing that that 10th cup, that wish, that final fulfillment will happen, but you don't have to make it happen in any particular time. Just bask in this energy. 10. This is the fairy tale love emotional endings card, where you come into a completion with another. It can only be said this is with another. This is emotional relationship abundance in this card. There's a man's arm and a woman's arm, and they share that 10th cup together. They both had 9. They've both done this point, and they've reached that point where their 9 cups come together and they become just 1 cup. And there's a beautiful scene behind, and it's bathed in kind of wonderful aquamarine-ish blue paradise ray frequencies. Now, this one has been a problem at times. It's like kind of coming out of the shadows. There's something about this one that's all kind of empty but theatrical. There's something firework about it. There's something about sacral veil curtains being pulled apart to reveal a whole chorus of work going on beneath, all holding up the image of this wonderful mandala in the middle that's opening very much in a kind of carnation sort of format in my mind. And yet I'm also getting that energy of the connection between our biomes and how they affect our emotions, and that's something that's very new. I have no idea why this card in particular has now become that biome, but there's always been something about this chorus line of compliance that's not quite comfortable. There's something too organised about them that sort of says it's not genuine. There's a rigidity underneath that doesn't make this card fully seated in a completion. It's like it's almost it's tidied itself up too well, is the energy that I'm going to say. But definitely this notion of our biome, it needs a greater freedom within our emotions, or a greater acknowledgement within our emotions. This 10 of Cups, like the first 10 of Cups, this is a gorgeous one. You know, a lot of people are always drawn to rainbows because rainbows have a very, you know, they have a spectrum of colours in that draw your eye to them. The rainbow flags always slightly annoyed me because I always just kind of think, what, could we not pick one colour? Completely unnecessary. But it's this energy here is of companionship. I like the fact that in this card it's 2 women and they're watching a boy and a girl play, and they're wrapped in all the energy, and just at the top here there's a little spike of a bass clef. There's something very musical that can be layered across this card, a swirling melody. It's really much music of the spheres territory, and there's something that looks almost like a tent peg pole that could also be like a sort of a musical instrument, or it could also be something to do with weaving or combing. There's something very smooth and magical about the frequency of that. And then we have this wonderful 10, which is, this has got so much pat yourself on the back frequency energy. This is, you know, you've done it. You've worked, you've organised through everything. You've faced everything you needed to face. You've really, and you're just being thankful for all the world and the energy around you for helping you to get there. It's a really lovely energy, this one, because now you can see the content of all of the jugs. They're no longer, it's almost like the lids were kept on so that nothing spilled out, and finally we're here and we can open all the contents because we're comfortable, we're in bliss with every single emotion that we carry. And then we have this massive change of frequency in the Good Tarot, which has mainly been these mermaid creatures, and we suddenly hear Happy Buddha as he pulls pearls of wisdom from the water. This is, there's not, there's so much laughter. The happy part of this, it's not this kind of comfortable bliss. It's not this wonderful, oh, I can't pick it up. It's so difficult, these cards. It's not this tumultuous love energy from a fairy story. It's not this kind of energy of, you know, being proud and feeling, you know, so much self-respect. This is just, it's joyful, it's laughter. It has to be that you see the funny side to all of the difficult emotions. So letting the treasures out of this chest, when you finally do, you actually realize that everything's so funny. There's an eye kind of sense right on the belly button, right on the sacral, analyzing the self and laughing at the self, self-deprecation. And then we have the Ten of Cups here, which is satiety, which I have to think about again. I really find that word annoying, but there we go. It just slips from my pronunciation. It's a tree of life, and it's Mars. And I've forgotten where the other symbol is. Mars in Pisces. It's very difficult to see the Pisces one. It's right down there in the bottom cup, the purple. Pisces shape, just below the square triangle thing. This is tree of life. It's to reach an emotional balance. So it's not this full-on energy, but it settles back into this frequency of flow. It's a really beautiful card. It shows you the Yggdrasil tree. It shows you that energy of the Kabbalah tree of life, and everything's moving fluidly, and the tree itself behind is carrying the energies background and circulating everything. So coming into an absolute bliss movement, and that's a 10. It's the Wheel of Fortune frequency. It's about being at a completion and a new beginning, which moves you on to a new sphere. So that's water. I don't know what happened then. It was just away with the pixies during that. So I hope it was good. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm enjoying these. I guess now I'll spend a couple of days linking into air, whether it'll get really hot and windy. I don't know, but the sun's just coming out now, oddly. There's been no sunshine all the while I've been talking through that water. And now the water's done. It's brightening up. So I'm going out to play in the little tiny bit of sunshine that's out. I want you to all have a lovely day. I'll come up with some kind of exercise that we can all have a look at. And I hope that the cards that you picked had some of those connections or didn't, because it's really important that you feel other energies from the cards. That's the whole point of how images are stored in our heads. We all see things differently. So nothing you saw or felt in the cards was wrong. It was just an exercise in seeing if you could feel drawn to particular things and why, and what you thought that might mean within your life. But we'll find other ways to practice. I was going to do a reading, but I'm not. I'm just going to leave it as water energy. I don't want to try and muddle it in. I was going to put the major arcana and fire and water together, but let's just leave it there. Okay, so Wassail, I'm going off to play now because I'm trying to do happy Buddha energy and be playful as a luminous warrior. So Wassail.